And you are now live.
Thank you, Ayse. Welcome,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone, to this evening's FBS Chat. Our special guest, Anne Marie from Denmark.
Yeah.
Apparently, one of the countries where people feel the most happiest. Maybe we might talk about that later.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and my wonderful co-host Gil Greene and Pamela King from the US. So welcome, guys. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
And Anne Marie, I always start with how you came across solution-focused brief therapy. What was it about that? What was that light bulb moment that you thought, wow, this could actually work for me? So when did you first come across the approach, Anne Marie?
Yeah, I think it was about 2001 or 2, maybe. I was that was actually a part of my training as a family therapist, systemic a family therapist. And one of the kind of themes we were introduced to the narrative and the solution focus approach. And the teacher was Harry Coleman from Malmö in Sweden. And those of you who have met Harry knows that he makes a kind of an impression on you. And so he did on me too. And I was on this course with what turned out to be my Danish soulmate in the solution focus community in Denmark. And we were really high on all this stuff that he was telling about. And I decided to explore that further on during my training as a family therapist. So I got a solution focused supervision by Harry, and I my master thesis from that training was a solution focused practice. So, and what really maybe fascinated me was how well it fitted into my beliefs, my way of being present in life. I'm educated as a social worker from the 90s, and I've been working with families from the mid 90s. So I have been into counseling and the child abuse, and was always a bit struggling with the views that was on client and the families, and meeting Harriet and hearing him just talk about how the assumptions and the beliefs from the solution focus approach that actually fits to my values and the way that I was raised. And so it was quite easy. Some of it was, well, bits of this I've always tried to practice, and I've always done bits of that as well. So, and then it's history. Rest of it is history, because I've been on that journey ever since. The first couple of years with Harry and his diploma course, and then we're in Denmark. Actually, the solution focus approach not that widely spread that in UK or in other parts of our neighbor country, Sweden. So it was mainly into the child protection area, the signs of safety, that the solution focus approach were used, and are mainly still used in Denmark. So I have had to explore what's going on in Europe, and that took me into the European conferences and a large network in Europe. So most of my kind of exploring the solution focus approach have been from outside Denmark. Yeah.
Can I? You said earlier that you always kind of struggled with how things were before. How did the solution focused approach maybe, I don't know, maybe feel that it was less of a struggle? What difference did it make?
Well, it was definitely the presuppositions, the assumption about other people, about how changes are created, or how we think about changes, how we can kind of put ourselves aside or in the background, and maybe also the thing about I don't have to be expert, or what I'm actually today expert in, it's only in asking silly, strange questions, and or facilitating something, But being a new educated social workers, we are trained with the problem focus from the very start. So, and the expert position to stand in. So kind of taking all that aside, and I go with the assumptions that was based in the solution focused approach. That makes something very, very much easier. And not only my work became easier, but it was much more fun too. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I suppose you noticed a difference. Well, I suppose your clients noticed a difference too. What do you suppose?
Yeah.
You notice them noticing?
Yeah. Oh, well, that's actually, I have to, think back. What did they noticed about this difference? I think it was just the work. I don't talk nowadays. I don't talk about that I'm doing a therapy or coaching, or I'm having conversations with people about the changes they want in life. That's so simple. So I don't define my practice any other way than this. But however, systems define my practice, or other people define sometimes your practice too, right? So I think they will say that in those coaching sessions or those family therapy sessions, that they were much more fun, and the family would see themselves as being definitely more uplighted, more resourceful, more competent, and I'm sure about that. I recall we had this group of kids that was all from divorced families and was struggling with those challenges related to that. And that group sessions were just much more fun. And it was, that really made a difference also to the parents for those kids. So there's a lot of moments where looking back, I can see, and I also started doing other things. I wasn't just so focused on, I can have this type of conversations, and then I have some paperwork, and then I have some meetings that I need to facilitate. But there was this the land of possibilities, actually, and I could do that at that time because I was in a work context where there was a lot of flexibility, and we could work with the local community, as long with parenting groups and the more what's it called? The child the kids that was in foster care. So we have different levels to work within, and that just gave a lot of possibilities. that that actually, I think it was a much better social work that we were able to do, because we could have another connection with the families and the parents, not so problem focused.
So, Anne Marie, in addition to clients and yourself finding solution focused more fun compared to problem focused, what other differences did you notice in terms of how clients responded to solution focused versus or compared to problem focused? And what differences did you notice in yourself?
It was quite easy for me to notice the differences in myself, because it became more fun to go to work, and I decided this is the way that I want to work. You know, it's not possible to unlearn or unknow in a way this how to work solution focused. So it's like, oh, I'm caught in this this kind of community, or in this approach, or in these assumptions, and they fit me so well. So that's turned into be a way of living rather than a way of working. Standing on the solution focus assumptions and beliefs, and that's kind of made me take some decisions during my work life that I, for instance, that I decided to become an independent social worker in 2009, and been being able to have flexibility and to choose among types of jobs and tasks, and so a wide range of flexibility. And I think the family that I have worked with will have noticed this flexibility. So it's also, I have actually very few ideas about how to have a conversation, or how to host a meeting, or I go with the client, and so it also gives back, as we know, the responsibility and the ownership to the family that we're working with, or the clients that we're working with, or just I like to call them the citizens, because there are no like clients, there are no, maybe families, but a lot of people that I'm talking with are not in a family, but that doesn't necessarily make them a client. So I think this this flexibility, this lightfulness, this co-constructive, collaborative atmosphere that we create together. And I'm having much more fun, and they are definitely having much more fun.
And that's a wonderful thing. When I first met you in Vienna, we were having fun because it was on the dance floor, and well, fun is a good thing.
Yeah, dancing is
You've been at this quite a while, and so I wonder, what should we ask you? What would you like to talk about and share with us now about solution focus?
Yes. What kind of what I'm thinking about these, not days, but these years, months, is and what have also had an impact on the design for the upcoming European conference, the EBTA conference in Denmark. That's all this how to put it, all these ideas about where the solution focus approach going. ideas about. I've been interested in firstly, we have Mark McCurko's recent book about the solution focused practice, but all the ideas about what do we need to see included in the practice in order to say or define this is solution focused practice.
Mm.
So I think that's really interesting to talk about. What in the future do we need to see practitioners practice in order to look at them and say they are practicing solution focus from the solution focus approach? Because there's the number of variations are spreading widely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Anne Marie, because obviously in the UK, a social worker is viewed in a certain light. They're going to come. They're going to take my children. They're going to do X, Y, and Z. And I think it's. I don't know how difficult it is to balance, because the role of the social worker is to protect children from harm.
Yeah.
You know, and
yeah.
Yeah. I think it's difficult for them to grasp that working collaboratively with parents may actually have some benefits. I mean, so what would you say to these social workers who have I guess they have a remit to say, right, I need to know these children are safe. I need to see this family doing X, Y, Z.
Yes.
How do you work collaboratively with that when you've also got this position of being someone that can actually take them away? It's a difficult one, I think.
It is, and I think there's two answers into it. First, I want to say, when I train, I talk a lot about contexts, because I think the way that we are capable of practicing solution focus practice or beliefs are also depending on the context we are within. So sometimes we are working in a context where we might not be able to work also from the solution focus approach or mindset 100%, because we have some laws, some regulations that are setting the context for what's possible. You know, how much can we give back the parents the expert role, or the responsibility, or for the next steps, in order that we are within the system and that are meant to take care of children. So I think I almost always talk about the context that we're working within, and there's a certain context within a child protection area, but that's definitely the same when I'm also working or supervision, giving supervision to a team that's working with vulnerable adults that have diagnoses and can't live in their own flat, or need to have some support and help in the during the day with structuring their everyday life and so on. And there's the same issue about the context going on, because there are some people that are in the position that they can, decide, does this client need to have 5 hours of mentoring or social support or per week, or 10 hours, or so when we're working in the community, in the municipality, and with the laws, we are in the laws will regulate the context that we're working within. So I think context is to look into the context is one part of it. The other part, I think, is actually, I think you have to be very well trained in solution-focused approach in order to work with some of the most complex families or clients or whatever we call them, because that's really, really hard work. And I discovered that it's a lot of the practitioners or the social workers that I'm supervising, they are just new into this area. They're just got their certification as a social worker, and they start working with the most complex field at all of the child protection area. And they are not very well trained in the solution-focused approach. So I think they are being set in a position where it's what's it called? It's meant to go wrong in a way. The collaboration are meant to go wrong because they are not sufficient trained. Like an example for that would be, they can have a meeting with a parent, a family, and the social worker can ask, so what are your best hopes from our meeting? And the mother and father will ask, well, that you can understand that we need to have our kids home from foster care. And the social worker can go like, well, that's not possible. End of solution-focused work. We do as we always do, because we can't, I don't know how to handle this kind of answer to the best hopes question. So, but there's a lot of further work to discover in this, because it might not be that they want, I mean, every parent want to have their home by them, the kids by themselves, but there's another part of the best hopes questions that maybe goes in a direction like, I want to be a competent parent again, or I want to feel glad or happy or whatever again. So then we're working towards another goal, or then having the kids home, we're working towards how can you feel as a competent parent again in this setting, in this context, that your kids are placed in a foster care. And so that actually gives some small ways, invitations, I like to call them, to have some other kinds of conversations.
Fantastic.
Does it make sense? It's really difficult to explain in English.
No, you did it perfectly.
Yeah.
So I gather, Anne Marie, from what you said, that social workers in their education in Denmark are not getting exposed to solution-focused approach?
Well, I think maybe 3 or 4 hours during 3.5 years. So, it's very, very little. I've been invited to the education, the school, or what's it called? But that's 1.5 hour on the first year. So, I can do whatever you can do on 1.5 hour, talk about the solution-focused approach. So, I would just be a little bit pleased if I can feed the curiosity about how can I get to know this even more, or what's the possibilities in it, so I can some seeds that I might be able to put on them. So this is very, very it's very little or not that it's both. It's about not knowing the possibilities within the solution-focused approach, or standing on the mindset and the options that that becomes possible. And then there's also, when the postmodern wind was blowing, it was the narrative approach that was falling down on Denmark. So we have a huge community of narrative practitioners, so it's beginning now to move into slightly schools and in the job center, and on the adults, the vulnerable adults with disabilities. But that's it. It's mainly been on the child protection area, and still there, I think it's mainly been using the science of safety, and I have seen this tendency to that if I'm just using the science of safety or the 3 slots, I'm doing solution focused work. And I just have to say, sorry for all of you that's using science of safety, but science of safety is a great way of working, but you need to know a bit about the solution focused approach in order to do it, because otherwise it's just a way of structuring a meeting, and then you don't do solution focused work. So you need to know the questions behind, or the mindsets, or the assumptions, to understand why are we putting things in 3 blocks about what's worrying or what's working or so on. And I think it's still a issue, and it's still in Denmark.
I think it is the same in the UK, Anne Marie. It's more of a tick box exercise. Did we cover this question?
Yes. Yes.
Go around the table to all the professionals, but then you don't actually look at it.
No,
it's just left.
Yeah. And it's standing on the book shield along with some other techniques or method, and then what to choose today, and from that way of working, I think there's a long way actually to create both a welfare system or just some departments of our welfare systems that can say we work from a solution focused approach. And I haven't found any other way than trying to spreading the words in order to make people, it's all about training and training and training. And that's actually one of my kind of main issues, that when I do training, I want to make sure that when my training is done, I for sure know that the students are capable of doing solution focus and not just talking about solution focus. I don't actually care if they can recitate an author or from a book or whatever. I want to see it be done in practice between the noses and in the people. So they have to bring a lot of film when they're trained by me. Yeah.
Sounds brilliant.
Good for you. So there is a community of solution focused practitioners in Denmark.
Yeah, there is, and it is getting bigger and bigger. We have a group of Danish network of solution focused practitioner on Facebook, but we are less than 300. I mean, so it's not that many that are working or that are interesting in, or there is a community, and there are about I think there are about we might be 10 practitioners that do training in Denmark, and I mean that do training of high quality. that's what it's about, you know. I'm sorry to say to the rest of you. I'm sorry. Yeah,
I'm so glad you're on the job of training people in Denmark and beyond in solution focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's about the doing, actually. Yeah. It's about doing solution focus work rather than anything else. And it takes time to be able to do that. And I guess there's a lot of there might be some trainers that are also, I'm trying to train solution focus in a solution focused way. Mm-hmm. And that's always another distinction than, you know, to act like the expert in solution focus and to tell people what to do. So it's also complicating the training than when you do it in a collaborative way. But
that brings us
more fun.
That brings us on to Rob Black's question.
Rob is there. Hi, Rob.
Rob is here. Yeah. What has been your most inspired presentation that you have done to date?
The most inspired presentation that I have done?
No pressure.
No. I have to understand this correctly, that I have been inspired by, or that I've did that inspired others, or
that you have presented that you're most proud of and maybe inspired others.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes,
you're the happiest with, you're most satisfied with it.
Yeah, actually, well, it was I was in the UK conference in Swansea, and that's, I don't know, 4 years ago. But that was I was really proud of that, because I did a 1-hour presentation in English for, and that's not I'm not that comfortable in talking English, and that was really a challenge for me to do. But I was determined that I would present both. I had this ideas and model of how to work with solution-focused mentoring, and the way that I was doing that at that time. And I was proud of having put together a model that I could present that actually showed my beliefs that I have many ways of working. I have only one way of thinking. So I do my practice in many ways, and actually the way that fits to the context or to the client or to the what we can create a meaning about. So presenting that was really a huge step for me. I think that was one of I've presented at an EBTA conference, but not alone. So maybe actually it was the first international conference I did on my own. And that was a huge step. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was.
Swansea in Wales. Wow.
Yeah.
So, Anne Marie, when you're a more solution-focused social worker, whatever, when you're at meetings, what difference did you find when you're supporting the family in some of these meetings, which can be really, really scary? Being solution-focused, how did that make a difference to the family, do you think? Because we've spoke about signs of safety, and I agree with, everyone gives a number, and it's not really looked into properly. No one really says, oh, so what would tell you they'd gone up 1 point? It kind of just ends there almost. How is being a solution-focused social worker when you present or you're supporting families in meetings? Does it make a difference?
Yes, it definitely does. I mean, nowadays I'm not working with families in that context of being the social worker. So tracing back, I mainly I supervise a lot of social workers though that are in that position, and when we talk about the solution focus approach, they actually discover how much easier their work become. Yes, how they can actually tell about the shift in from being less stressed to being more relaxed, to discovering personal ways of coping with this complex work life, and this shift happens when they give back, or they kind of not give back full, but give back some responsibility and ownership to the families. And that are actually in small steps, like co-construction the agenda for a meeting, like for the parents to be invited into this co-constructing process of an agenda, and that gives ownership for the changes that we want to see in the family. And I believe when we give back ownership, or when you own the change that you want to see happen, you're more motivated for doing the next steps. And it also lower the level of conflicts when you're being invited, when you are talked to and looked at as you are. This is a cooperative process. I have a voice too, and yeah. So I think it makes a huge difference. And I've also recently reread some of the results from Tenerife, from Tony Medina and Mark Meyerberg, about the huge research project that they have done in Tenerife. And they talk about some of these changes in beliefs and in coping with the work life for social workers, but also the ideas about the families and the clients, how they shift when being trained from a solution focused approach. So, I mean, there's no good reason for not training social workers in the solution focused approach. At least I can't find them. No.
I love it.
Yeah, love that.
Can I just quickly ask a question that Hayson Moon, and when Hayson asks us to ask a question, we do, because it's Hayson. We know our place, Hayson.
Yes, I love Hayson too.
She says, I have a question, please. And I could just imagine her saying this. Anne Marie, she would love to hear about your thoughts on SF practice with teens or young adults done over a chat or text.
Yes.
So she obviously knows something that we don't know about.
No, yes. And that's something that I'm proud about too, because I did some research for my master's thesis about how to work with text messages, how to make changes in a text message dialogue. And I think there are so many possibilities with using text messages. I've done research on the language, not the emojis, because that's a whole chapter of itself when you include emojis into this way of these types of dialogues. But actually, I think when Hayson is asking this kind of question, that I actually could easily adapt the dialogue quadrant to this text dialogues as well. So my respond my to the message, are they going in the direction, in the preferred future direction, or the successful past? Or so I'm pretty much doing the same when I'm texting teens or adults that I do in face-to-face conversations. I'm listening with my constructive ear. No, I'm using my constructive eye to read the message. So I'm looking for kind of exceptions, for invitations, for words that are going in a direction of the preferred futures. And then I'm pinpointing the words and building my next response or questions on the chat or on the text message, but based on the message from the teens. So it brings the possibilities that we have some other kind of conversations, more reflective conversations, where I invite the teen to kind of reflect upon the situation, or it could be how did you manage that, or how did you cope with that, or is it the way that you want? And if it's not the way that you want, what do you want instead? All of those dialogues you can have in a text message dialogue as well. And that's why I find it so easy, because text messages we can do all the time. You know, I discovered I was receiving those long text messages from adults that was I was working with from the job center, diagnosed adults that was in schizophrenia, or with bipolar, or all kind of diagnosis. And they were sending text messages to me, because that was a part of the deal. You can do that any hour of the day, or day and night. Of course, I don't respond at the night. I do sleep at night, but you're welcome to text me, because I can put my my phone on silent. So of course you can text me. And I discovered these long messages that I was receiving that maybe had took the client 2 hours to put together and create, about they were feeling anxiety, or they were not being able to sleep, or they have this thoughts that they couldn't cope with, or whatever. So I want to qualify my responses to them. So that was the background of doing that research. I want to qualify the respond, and instead of not going like, oh, let's talk about it when we meet on Wednesday, I want to give them a decent response, and a response that was related to the they said to me, I was 2 hours in formulating this text message to you, and I wrote and I deleted and I wrote again and I deleted again, and I was, oh wow, that's really hard work that you're doing in order to trying to tell me something. So if I just should respond in 10 seconds, this is not going to fit. I have to do better than that. So I have to really give them a more qualified answer. And then I discovered, when I kind of defragment, is it, you would say that? When I defragment the message into different parts, I discovered here are words that I can delete. Here are words that I can I can reduce, and here are words that I can, is it called merge? Is that the right word? Yeah. So that provided we with a whole new field of practice, a whole new way of collaborating with the client. And I also discovered that they, as we know, when we are taking time to respond in a qualified way, sometimes they have solved the problem themselves, or they have coped with the situation, and then it was possible to get back to the client next day and, oh well, now I know you. There have been 6 hours since you sent me this message, and I assume that you have dealt with this anxiety issues that was going on during the night. How did you do that? And then I was into a whole other field of discovering how they were coping or how they were dealing, and looking at the resources and the competences that emerge from those kind of conversations. But it was all on text messages. So for me, there's a huge resource in looking into chats and text messages.
That's coming from them. And so many people perhaps in that teen's life or that young adult's life is like, put your phone away and go to bed.
Yeah.
And you have a completely different response.
Yeah.
And you honor it. You honor that information. And I really love that you do that listen, select, build piece and respond to the things. And oh my goodness. And then the next time you see them, you have so much more information. I just really love that, Anne Marie.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, son.
And they get to know something new about themselves, and they become more competent in their life. Yeah, that's a nice way of working. And I think one of the background materials that I was looking into when I did this research was a huge Danish research on ordinary text messages between teens, and how they actually are much more in several conversations at the same time, both online and offline, and several online conversations at the same time. So they are actually coping much more with this way of interacting with each other. So it also invites me into, okay, I can be part of this. I can do that too, with them. Yeah.
And do that, they have to really be motivated, working very hard to be communicating not just with you but other people.
Yeah.
So it really shows a real commitment on their part. They're willing to work on the situation.
Exactly.
Well, I would imagine you said they would say that they might spend 2 hours getting the text message written that they want to send to you, and you pointed out that you want to honor that as well. You don't want to just send them a one-sentence response. Can you say a little bit more about how you balance that? Because you can't. I can't imagine you have 2 hours to spend to respond to each person who sends you a text message.
No. And of course, it was not all of the people. I was at that time I did the research. I was having 4 or 5 employees in my company, and we were all working from this mentoring model, and we were integrating what we call the digital diary. And a part of this digital diary was this way of working with text messages. And sometimes when we checked in the morning at the office, one could say, I got this message this morning. How would you respond to this? Or so then we have this conversation together that was and it was possible to kind of also be more quality, give more quality into this listen, select, build, because we were sitting 3 or 4 people that was listening and selecting and building and talking about, how come you want to build on this, and you want to select that part of the conversation. You can do this instead. So actually, I think we were playing the team better by doing this process and paying attention to the many ways of responding to those messages, as well as you find a lot of ways to respond in face-to-face conversations. When you look at yourself on tape, then you discover, oh, well, there was an invitation and I didn't pick that, or I picked that, but not this one. How come? And you find that when you look at yourself in tapes. And when you're several people looking at text messages, you discover the same process. Was that an answer to your question, Gil? I don't know.
Well, I was going to say, Anne Marie. Yeah, sometimes when we get texts from parents quite often, and I do sit there finding myself, I have to make this right, because once I've written that down, I can't take that back. Do you know what I mean? It's in text. And sometimes when I text Ayse, for example, or whoever, and I look at it, when I look back at it, I think, God, that come across really rude, or that come across really. So I get what you're saying, is that it does take, it does take a while, because that written word, and it's a nice memory for the young person to see that progress, I guess.
Yeah. And I think it goes the same with the written word as the spoken word. When it's out, you can't take it back. So actually, we all have to what's it called? We all have to try to do better, in how we, because the words, the language is all we have. So we have to keep trying to do better when we talk to each other. And that's the same when we're texting each other. And said that, I also believe that it's never too late. It's never too late to get back to people and say, I'm sorry, I was too pushy. I was, I'm sorry, I was impolite, or I did say that was, yes. It's never too late to say, I'm sorry, or I could have done better, or kind of being curious in, how have my actions affected others? It's never too late.
It's never too late.
And that's another FBS chat.
Yes.
Because I know we spoke earlier about how you were a social worker in the system, and then you decided to be an independent social worker.
Yeah.
You left that system, and I guess a lot of your hopes have been realised. When you left the system, what were you hoping to achieve? So what have you already done? What would you like to do next?
Yeah, that's a big question. Well, actually, I was trying to create a work life that gave me the freedom to choose and some flexibility. And that was also because that I have had a period with severe stress. So I knew I had to take better care of myself. And that was a way of doing that. But at that time, I had no idea that I was 10 years later standing with the Danish Solution Focus Institute that's providing this 3-year accredit program from ESD, and that's that's a part that I'm really proud about. That so I'm a bit I can be proud of that. And that's been, and it's still, it's not like it's easy peasy work, because it's not, because it's like I'm the single what's it called, motor that are driving the train uphill, so it's only I, and I have some consultants that I collaborate with, but so I would like in the future to actually, I would love the Danish Solution Focus Institute in the future. My best hope in 10 years would be that we are 4 or 5 in the ownership of the Danish Solution Focus Institute, and people younger than I that would take this further on. I would love that to happen. And of course, I would love the solution focus word being even more spread in Denmark. And I think I've done a lot of different initiatives, and I will keep on doing that, I think, in the next many years too, in another ways. And I also think it's that's fun too. So and fun of discovering new ways of working. I have last year set up a volunteer project where we are 3 solution focus to practitioners that I've trained and that are combining the positive benefits of knitting with the solution focus approach or therapy. So in a group context session, I like to discover new fields for where we can adapt or integrate the solution focus approach. And there's so many benefits of integrating handcrafting and in creating changes, and you can the solution focus approach are very useful in that context too. So what different have it done for you that you have been able to knit all week? What's been different? Yeah. So that's a part of it. Yeah.
I'm curious, Anne Marie, how receptive are the service institutions in Denmark been to solution focus, such as mental, we talked about child protective services, how about mental health or corrections or other institutions? How widely used is solution focused therapy in those institutions?
It's really rarely. It's narrative, it's cognitive, it's motivational interviewing, it's kind of some behavioral approaches. So I think there's a big part that are still unknown, or actually I think the solution focus approach are struggling in Denmark with the name, because nobody nowadays will claim that they are not working towards solutions. No one would say that I'm working towards problems. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
So everybody will claim, well, I'm working solution oriented, solution variations of.
I've seen that in the U.S. as well. People call themselves solution focused, and they're really not.
Yeah, exactly. So
sorry, can we say bye to Pamela, who needs to go to an appointment?
This was
that was lovely, Pamela. I hope to see you.
With you.
Love you.
Love you, Pamela.
Bye. It's days for us.
Yeah.
Bye. That was nice. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, but just to add a few words to what you were asking, Gil, I'm beginning to talk a bit different about the solution focus approach. that it's more future-oriented, client-centered. So, so I add these other things when I say the solution-focused approach, and that's the one, that is future-oriented, client-centered, It's not the one that when you made your analysis and you come with an action plan and towards the solution, that's not the kind of solution work that I do.
Mm-hmm.
But I need to keep on doing those kind of explanations.
So you can't retire then. You still got
no way.
I think none of us can, because there's so much need for the solution focused approach or mindset or way of working and being in the world. Yeah.
You are so inspiring.
I was just going to ask Anne Marie about the younger people coming through now. Is she inspired by them? Is there? Are we good for the next few years? Have you seen promise?
Yeah, signs of progress, you mean?
With the younger generation coming through, I guess.
Yes, as practitioners. Yes, I think. Well, we have talked a bit about that. Some other practitioners and I in Denmark, and there's some paradoxes into that too, actually, because I think you have to, when you're young, you're new educated, whatever, you're a social worker or teacher or pedagogue or whatever, and then you're open-minded to everything, and then you fit in with the culture, the working culture that you're being included in. And so it's maybe first after 10 years of working that and then there's a solution-focused approach. Because now I've been around the motivational interviewing, and now my workplace, we have had this course with the cognitive behavior or whatever. So I think some of the students that I see, they are not that young. So yeah, so actually they've been out, they've been practitioners for more than a decade, and then they discover they want this lightness in their work life. They want this joy, because now I work for 10 years and I'm fit up. So I want a bit of all that lightness and that joy and the less stress and the more relaxing. And the solution-focused approach can provide that, because that's based in the assumptions that we stand upon. But it takes a while. So I would love to train. Actually, I would love to train on the what's it called? For me, it's kind of the high school, the professions high school, where they educate the social workers and the teachers and the pedagogues. I would love for us to be able to spread the words of solution focused within there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'm sure if anyone can, you can.
Yeah.
So, Anne Marie, why are the Danes the happiest people on earth?
Yes, it's definitely not because we're all working solution focused.
It's because you haven't visited them.
No, thank you.
I think there's a lot of good questions into that, but that's what the research says, and I think we have this Danish concept of hygge. You heard about the Danish concept of that's a way of coziness, or we call it hygge. And there's this book have been translated into English, The Little Book of Hygge. And hygge is what Danes do together when they're having a relaxing, joyful time in front of the fireplace, or with a beer in the hand, or just a cozy time. And it's actually not translatable into any other language. And I think that's a bit of the answer of why the Danes are the most happiest people. And then we just have a beautiful country. and a very difficult language. But we do have a beautiful country. Yeah. Personally, I like the change of the seasons. You know, it always brings some good moods into. There's several times of year I can explore hope for the new season. Now it's light, and I hope for the sun and the warm, and I love Christmas too. So I hope for a cold winter and some snow and
definitely with you there. Definitely, yeah. And sitting around the fireplace drinking beer doesn't sound too bad either.
Or wine, And we take both red wine and white wine. Doesn't matter.
We're not going to be too fussy, Anne Marie.
No.
Any last questions, Gil?
No. I see that we're running out of time. So in terms of being co-hosting this, it's been a great meeting you, Anne Marie, and it's been easy because you've been, we asked a question and you just really go with it, and so it's been a lot of fun and very informative. Appreciate it, and I have a lot of admiration for your commitment and your enthusiasm.
Oh, thank you. It's been nice meeting Gil, and your questions. I had to kind of think a bit about them, and that's nice too, because it's not that common that you get a chance to reflect on your own kind of tracking back on the solution focused memory lane, and that's been very nice. And although I know the questions about, so what would you see different with them when you do this and that? But I've never thought about what did my family see different when I did something different.
I was going to ask you that question earlier.
Oh, yeah, so easy now, Gil. Yeah, don't give us all that.
So when you switch from problem focus to solution focus, what did your family and friends, coworkers notice different about you?
It's been. This hour has just gone so quickly, Anne Marie.
Like this,
yes. Thank you so much. And like Gil said, it was like we could ask a question and just listen with awe because you just went with it, and that made it for me so enjoyable and learned a lot. So,
but I'm so grateful for your patience with my sometimes a lack of words, but that's really a nice challenge for me.
On a scale of 0 to 10, you were 9.99.
That's why I love hanging out with solution focused folks. That's the best thing ever.
I feel very inspired. Sorry, Gil.
Oh, well, I was just had one question. That you talked about earlier, presenting at Swansea your model about mentoring, and is there any place where we can have access to that presentation or something else along those lines? That's in English.
On academia, I have some articles. So you can find them there. I think it's called How to Work as a Solution Focused Mentor. And in different contexts as well. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, and there's also some articles. One article based upon my research with the text messages as well. So on academia.
Yeah, I'll check there. Thank you.
Gil, when you find it, you can forward it to me.
I will. I will do that.
Keep it simple. Keep it simple.
I tell you what, I can't actually not ever speak to Gil. He's just one of those. His family. Gil, you just send it over to me. Love you, Gil. Sure. Send it over to me. We've never actually met, but he's part of family-based solutions, and he just he means the world to us.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, he's gorgeous. Oh, Gil, you're making me all
That's
emotional. Oh.
Yeah.
But Anne Marie, I loved you from the first time we started messaging each other.
So sweet.
I will be writing a blog.
Yes.
It's still on my mind.
Yes.
It's still on my mind. Every week it's on my calendar.
Yeah.
But dealing with social workers, Anne Marie, is not easy. Takes up a lot of our time. But you are so inspirational, and we will be contacting you to hopefully deliver some training for us.
I would love to do that.
I
hope to see some of you. I still am optimistic about the EBTA conference in Denmark in September, and so I would love to meet you there. And and if that's not possible, we have a world conference coming up in 2022 in Frankfurt. So maybe all be able to join in there.
Yeah, well, keep us posted. I have been keeping an eye up to his website. So hopefully something happens. But thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for spending a lovely hour together with you. It's been so much fun and so great. Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
If I could just ask you, lovely people, to just wait there while we say goodbye, just so we can say bye-bye after we end the live show. Everybody else, Saturday evening, we have a fundraiser, 7 p.m. Please tune in on Facebook, where you will be seeing Joe and Jason and Matt and my husband Kaya screaming. They will be having their legs waxed. And our next FBS chat.
No, that will be on Facebook.
That will be on Facebook.
You will post that on Facebook.
Anybody that can donate towards the charity, we would much appreciate it. £1, $1, €1 goes a long way when you are a charity.
$1 Danish krone.
$1 Danish krone. Thank you so much. We will accept anything. Thursday the 17th, we have at 1 p.m. BST, we have a chat with the lovely Debbie Hogan. So it's at a different time, but that's because of the time difference. So we hope to see you guys there. But for now, everybody, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
It was nice.